Okay, so this is going to be the SpongeBob's Dream portion of the NG Plus tutorial beginner round. So we have 14 spatulas, and you should have either 7 or 8 socks at this point in the run. 7 if you did the Hub 1 skip where you go underneath the map, and 8 socks if you do the Hub 1 skip where you glide and land on the invisible wall. So we're at SpongeBob's Dream. You should have gotten the warp to Krusty Krab right before coming here by talking to Mr. Krabs over there. But either way, we're going to press R and enter Dream. Mash through the cutscene, because I always forgot when I was new to do that. So here we're going to do Super Bounce. Since we have the Bubble Bowl, we can actually... Okay, well, I meant to bowl onto the slide. So you can still make this fast cycle for Super Bounce even if you don't use the Bubble Bowl, but making the Bubble Bowl makes it easier to make that cycle. So I'm going to show this trick again and kind of explain some stuff. So on the second block, you want to bounce off of like these forwardmost spikes because they just kind of pop you up. They don't like knock you to the side at all if you jump on those specific spikes. Kind of make your way up here. Some people elect to ledge grab right there instead, which is slower, and it means you're going to be making the slower cycle, but if it happens, it's not that big of a deal. Some people elect to just kind of do this and then jump up, which again is going to make you make the slower cycle, but it's not that big of a deal. I keep missing those bowls onto the slides. So if you make the slower cycle, you just want to bounce on the second trampoline that comes by. Because if your movement isn't good and you're doing the slower movement for these blocks, then you're not going to be able to make the fastest cycle. Again, those spikes are pretty particular about where you land. If you get the bowl onto the slide, you can actually land on the trampoline without taking damage, which is faster, but you need to have like really good movement to make that cycle. If you want to be safer, you can just wait for that block to turn as well, instead of bouncing off the spikes at the start. It's another way of doing that. So one thing that I see a lot of beginners not realize when they're learning this trick is, you see, so you're landing on the side of the block, but you need to jump up and over the spikes, because the spikes have hitboxes on the sides that will just knock you away. Let me see if I can demonstrate that with these spikes. Like that. They'll just knock you back if you walk into the side of them. So you need to jump up and over the top of the block. What a lot of people don't realize is that you need to realize that when you do the trick, you're gonna hit the side of the block at like the same spot every time, or at least you should be. So you need to anticipate that and jump on a specific part of the block. Like, you need to anticipate yourself hitting the block and make sure you're jumping at the right time. You can't react to hitting the block and then try to jump, because then you'll jump too late and you won't have enough height. There is another way that I've seen people do this, which I guess I'll show. I don't know if I know the movement for this. I'll try to show it though. There's a method I've seen some people do where you can just kind of bash here, and yeah. You might need to wait a little bit more on that. I might have made it if I did that. You can kind of just bash, slam, and just hit the trampoline that way on the second cycle. This might be too late. Yeah, no, that was early. But yeah, the thing about that is you need to wait on the cycle if you're going for that. You can use like visual cues. I've seen people setups for this where they explain it in a video, and you can use visual cues to do it the easier way. If you can't do the faster strat. But in my opinion, it's just better to learn the faster strat if you can. Important thing to keep in mind is that you need to hold down the A button to time your full jumps. Because if you just do like, if you just tap it, you'll get short hops. You need to press and hold A when you land on the side of the block, and it should work. So, yeah, you would get that spatula. I didn't include Squid's Dream in this route, just because we have some other fast options available. We don't necessarily need Squid's Dream in this route. But if you know how to do Squid's Dream and you want to do it, here. So you would do Super Bounce, as usual. That's what I mean with bowling on his slides. So you would get the spatula, and then you would just fall down into Squid's Dream, and you would just do Squid's Dream right away. Because we already have cruise boosting, we don't need to like get the warp and then backtrack later. We can just do it right now. But I didn't include that in this route, but you can substitute in Squid's Dream in this route if you want to get rid of a spatula later. If you're having problems with something later on in the run, you could learn Squid's Dream as a replacement if you wanted to. But either way, after we're done with that, you want to warp to Super Bounce. And then like the final way to do Super Bounce is if you've accumulated 1,000 shiny objects through Jellyfish 1 and Bikini Bottom stuff, you can just pay the clam and do the challenge the normal way. Because it spawns a trampoline here, and then you can just go up and do the challenge. In this category, it actually doesn't lose that much time to do that if you have the shinies for it. And it's not unfeasible to have 1,000 at this point. It is a little bit slower to do it that way, but it is an option if you're not that good at Super Bounce. So either way, you want to enter Sandy's Dream, and we're going to do Sandy Nut. So this is a pretty basic trick. There's Shift's tutorial where he goes over this. There's images in the BFBB Discord that show like where the trigger is and like where to jump to hit the trigger. So yeah, I'm not going to go too far in depth into this, but the basic idea is you need to jump underneath the acorn to hit the invisible trigger, and then die and respawn up here. It's a pretty simple trick. It's just, you just need to know where to jump. And yeah, there's, like I said, a reference image in the Discord if you don't know where to jump. Yeah, either way, come get this spatula. And then warp to the first spatula in Dream. I recommend getting rid of the jellyfish because he can hit you while you're trying to cruise boost, and that's not very good. So you can either jump off the box and like bash slam to get up here. That's honestly the safest way of doing that. You can also just bash off the ground and slam at peak height and get up here if you really want to. Option number 3, which is the fastest, is to just line yourself up with the edge of this box, jump, double jump up here. So next, for this spatula, you can just get rid of your cruise boost and jump to it if you don't want to like die and have to respawn and stuff. But that's overall slower, I think, than just bashing into it. So the idea with grabbing the spatula is we need to go somewhere on this island where we're not going to die during the spatula animation. You can go right here, get stuck right here, which is one of the faster ways. You can get stuck on the flap side of its box right here during the animation. You can get stuck over here. I made the shush tikis go away on accident. You can drift into the shush tikis right here and get stuck. Or you can do a setup which Chris does, where the camera zooms in and you spin around in circles, but I don't think that's very consistent. But it does have the backup over here with the shush tikis and these rocks. So I'm a fan of that, at least. But either way, just jump up here, get the spatula, pretty easy. Then we're going to come on over here, get up the platform again, and we're going to jump to the end of the dreamscape. So if you aren't good at like reacting to when you get on the island, you might want to zoom in your camera right now, because we are going to need to zoom in the camera at some point before we grab that spatula over there. So yeah, you just want to come up here, jump, and then space, double jump, spin, slam to get the spatula. That jump's pretty easy if you like know how to space your jump on top of the wheel to begin with. And then yeah, come into Patrick's dream, get the spatula. So I'm going to show that again one more time if you're having trouble with it. So there is another option for this jump off the wheel. You can get up and bash over to make it easier. And you would grab the spatula here, obviously. When you do a bash off a ledge like that, it actually gives you more leeway to make the jump, which is pretty interesting. You can use that in a couple spots in this route. But yeah, I'm going to show another thing you can do to make it easier as well. You can bash onto the wheel. Okay, well you would need to space it better than I just did, but you can bash to get up on top of the wheel if you're not really confident and you're turning with your cruise boosting. There's a lot of options for this segment. Like you would just do it like that, pretty much. But yeah. That's pretty much all there is to Dream. You need to make sure you go into Patrick's Dream, get the spatula, but that's a pretty hard one to forget. But yeah, once you leave SpongeBob's Dream, you should have 19 spatulas, and like I said at the start of the video, depending on your strats in Bikini Bottom, you will either have 7 socks or 8 socks right here, depending on if you talk to Patrick already. But once you're done with Dream, if you talk to Patrick, you want to warp to Patrick. But if you didn't talk to Patrick, you want to warp to Krabs instead. Just depending on what you have available. Warping to Krabs isn't all that much slower. If you're doing the trick to skip to Hub 2 where you bash under the map, it's pretty slow to go out of your way to get the Patrick warp early, so you would just warp to Krabs instead. But yeah, either way, this is the end of Dream in NG+.